Hello, hello. I don't know who you are, but how are you doing? Good evening, people. Hello, how are ya? Please like this video as y'all come in. We shall go ahead and get started. I don't know who in here, but I see somebody in here. So that means I got listening ears. Okay. We are reading part one of The Untold Secrets by Douglas E. Hobson. And this is a story on his life. Hey, KJ. Hey, Betty. Hey, True Never Fails. What's up, honey? True Betty said, I want to know, honey. Go ahead and like this video, y'all. All right, we went over chapter one last time. It was a lot of surprising things in chapter one. And of course, like I told y'all before, I have not been reading the book without you guys. So we are reading this together. So I don't know what's going on, and y'all don't know what's going on. We finding out together. All right. So I'm gonna give everybody a second. If you haven't liked this video already, go ahead, please do so. Feel free to share the video as well. Come on in. So y'all, the first chapter, it was pretty rough. I don't know if any of you guys was in here to hear the first chapter, but it was some pretty surprising information in there. I don't know if they're gonna elaborate it on the second chapter or what, but hopefully we they do, because I want to know what's going on. Hey, Carrie Boo. It was. It was a lot. Carrie, it was a lot for the first chapter, huh? I know. He laying it on thick. So I'm gonna go ahead and start the second chapter, y'all. The second chapter is titled The Wonder Years. Okay. As a young child, having already dealt with sexual, emotional, and physical abuse, it was difficult to comprehend how things could possibly get worse. Nevertheless, they did get worse. What I have termed the wonder years became the hardest years of my life. It was during this time that spirits of abandonment, rejection, distrust, low self esteem became deeply embedded in my psyche. They found a way to hold them. Wait, yeah, as he said, they found a way to hold within the deepest recess of my soul. The neglect I endured from my mother left me emotionally starved. I longed for the slightest bit of affection. A simple look or a gentle touch would have been enough for me. Instead, I was left longing for something or someone to fill the emptiness within my soul. I became confused, thinking that the problem was with me, that somehow as a child, I was unworthy of love, affection, and attention. I found myself in an unstable place. I just could not seem to catch my footing. The instability and confusion produced uh, within me a major crisis. Oh, okay. So he said the instability and confusion produced within me a major crisis. I became violent because there was no one around to raise or nurture me. Violence became there. because there was no one to hold me. Violent because there was no one to show me that I could be loved or that I was worthy of love. My heart cried out for my mother, who simply said, "Son, I love you." To say, to simply say, oh, who would? Well, he wanted his mama to say she loved him. He said, "My heart cried out for a mother who would simply say, 'Son, I love you.'" However, she was not there. At the time, I didn't know it, but according to the Bible, love suffers long is and is kind. Love does not envy. Love does not parade itself. Is not puffed up. Does not does not behave rudely. Does not seek its own. Is not provoked. Thinks no evil. Does not rejoice in iniquity. In a little bitch, I can't say it. I can't. I'm gonna have to say it. Inquinity, okay, but rejoices in the truth, bears all things, believes all things, hope all things, endures all things. That is exactly the type of love I needed. Love is practical and not empty. As a child, I needed to know the expression of love, the expression of affection. I was lonely without my mother. I would have given anything to know. Hold on. Okay, just that I would give any. I would have given anything to know my mother's love and to experience her presence. That would have been the greatest gift I could ever receive. I was emotionally starved, even as a toddler, and I was not able to adjust later in life. I will never understand what bonding is, let alone beneath, give bonding to others. Okay. I can only give what I have or possess. Being neglected and abandoned. Television became my best friend, and the internet attracted my curiosity. It was the only thing that stimulated my mind intellectually. I was very young and my mind was still developing. I was a child denied the opportunity to learn. Emotional emptiness was a tragedy that I faced, and it led me to several suicide attempts at an early age, which invoked me into hopelessness, into a hopeless state, to a hopeless state of mind that bred on the grounds of loneliness and feelings of being unloved, abused, and neglected. My suicidal thoughts manifested in various forms, but the one feeling that dominated my life was hate. I became very violent and destructive. There was a major part of my wonder years trying to deal with abandonment issues. This carried on even into my adulthood, but it wasn't until I dealt with it that God was able to bring manifest blessings into my life. If you want to know what God has for you, you must be willing to relinquish the issues of your soul to Him in complete and total surrender. We often reject things on a daily basis. We reject items we don't want, ideas we don't like, and opportunities we don't agree with. Rejection is as much of rejection is as much a part of the world as is approval. It drives a healthy system of competition and ensures a high standard of quality. But what happens uh, right? But what happens when we, as human beings, reject each other? The problem with rejection is that it hurts, and depending on the circumstances, it may take a while to get over it. What you tell yourself is what you will believe. I know that's so true. So tell yourself that no matter what you are going through, this what you are going through and going to get through this and move on. It is always helpful to focus on the end of the hurt and pain rather than focus on the pain itself. There is some truth of old adage of dusting off yourself and getting back on the horse that threw you. Focusing on rejection and the hurt only strengthens the pain. I can assure that the pain will lessen and the hurt will go away if you let it. You must turn the rejection into acceptance for yourself, for who you are, and not for what you feel the other person wants you to be. Do not try to change yourself only to impress someone else, because eventually you'll have to become resistant. Sooner or later, someone will accept you as a person you are, and they will feel the same way about you that they feel about them. It only takes time and patience. To sum it all up, dealing with rejection and getting past the hurt is not easy, but it can be done. You need to get up, learn from the experience, and move on with your life. It is the simple. It is the simple, but also it is that simple, but also that complicated. I can tell from experience that there are sometimes I still look and wonder, what if? Then I look at where I am now and think to myself, I really wouldn't change a thing. Rejection comes as one of the most brutal states to the heart because it is not is because it deals a direct blow to your ego. The ego is the inherent part of the self that holds our pride, self esteem, and self worth. When the ego is bruised, a core element of our being is damaged. We often feel reduced to a lesser version of ourselves. I automatically begin to blame myself, assuming that assuming there must be something wrong with me, criticizing the behavior that led to the rejection. A feeling of being loved creates a state of joy and gladness. And I would have felt on top of the world and had the desire to conquer the world if I had felt loved by my mother. But my mother failed at being a mother. I guess her argument for never spending time with me was that she had to work and earn money to raise me. I felt she should have made the tough choice to stay home a little bit and salvage our relationship in these turbulent times instead of going after money all the time and abandoning me. I often told my mother, I feel like you resent me and you are rejecting me. I want to know if I'm right about it. If so, then I want to know why you that way towards me. What can we do together to make things better for us? I have learned that I need openness, OPENNESS, all right. Respect and self control to feel love. Without them, conversations like the one I described above turned into a ugly fury arguments. Most parents, even if they are controlling, dominating, or avoiding, actually do love their children. Even though I felt completely unloved by my mother, I was a unique and worthwhile person. At the age of 6, I was in custody of DSS. Now I guess we're going back to the beginning, y'all. This is in chapter 1. He was talking about this. At the age of 6, I was in custody of DSS. I went from foster home to foster home. The first foster home parents I had were the Harpers, and they were super cool. Of course, I was very standoffish because they were too cool. I stayed in their home for about 10 months. They were church people. Mr. Harper was the pastor of a huge Baptist church, and all we did was church. It seemed like we were in church all the time, which was a great thing for me because I love to hear Mr. Harper whoop at the end of his sermon. He would do this, he would do this thing where he would say, "Isn't God all right?" And he would pick up and turn around, and then Mr. Harper would spin like he was Michael Jackson. I was in a new city where I didn't know anyone. I went to school, which wasn't fun at all because I was always angry. I would walk down the hallways and if there were 10 kids in the hallway, I would hit 6 out of the 10. Mm. I would hit 6 out of the 10 kids for no reason at all. I was always picked on because I was the biggest in the whole school. Hmm. So I guess people wanted to take on the big guy. So much anger had built up. I did not know how to express it. I was angry because the kids could live a normal life, and I had to go through hell every day just because I was me. One day, the teacher screamed at me. The previous days at the foster home weren't good at all, and my morning wasn't the best. So the last thing I needed was someone else telling me what to do and how to do it. I picked up my desk and threw it at her. I had so much built up anger inside from thinking about my mother that is that the strength came out of nowhere. And during the moment of throwing it at her, I yelled, "I'm tired of you beating me." In that moment, all I saw was my mother's face. It took me back to when my mother would beat me and scream at me for no reason. It took me to a place for just a moment I was able to fight back and take control. For a moment, I was Superman and I was in full control. Miss Harper came to the school that day and picked me up. And to be honest, I was expecting her to beat me and yell at me, but instead she hugged me. I don't know. Got me choking, y'all. Okay, at this point, mhm, I guess he's talking to me. I never been hugged by a woman. She said, "It's going to be okay. I understand why you're so angry." That was the scariest thing ever. I became overwhelmed by them being so nice that I purposely sabotaged that relationship because it was too good to be true and because of the pure hatred I had towards my mother. I was afraid to allow anyone close to my heart or to love me. So I created a hostile environment and cop out strategy to get out of there. How many times have we sabotaged relationships, whether personal, business, or spiritual, because of our past hurts and because we don't know authentic love? I had become accustomed to protecting my heart, and the defense mechanism was to sabotage relationships or to push someone as far away as I could to make them leave me so I could be at peace and not afraid of them doing something to me. That's the enemy plays with your mind. He brings the illusion that the people who care about us are against us because we have unforgiveness in our hearts and we have major trust issues to where we think everyone is against us or that everyone is out to hurt us. I was in my seventh foster home in a 9 month span. but but this was one of the worst of them all. The Espito family had issues. It was like being at home with my mother. The father was drunk, and the mother was a woman who suffered from bipolar disorder and wasn't stable at all. I was supposed to be in a safe haven, but I was just back in the same situation with different faces. These people had no filter when it came to expressing how they felt, whether it was good or bad, and they had no filter when it came to physical abuse either. So, while I was in this foster home, I experienced a lot from the good, the bad, and the ugly. I was used to this kind of hard love, and I almost felt comfortable there until things began to happen. How did this family qualify to become foster parents? On February 14th, a day that was set aside for love, the most horrible thing happened to me, and it was like I was going in circles. Being here made my anger worse because I didn't know from day to day what to expect. But the night was the most horrible and scariest of all. I remember it like yesterday. Mr. Espito, a drunk and abuser who had been drinking very hard that night, and Mrs. Espito, who had not been taking her medicine for her bipolar disorder, got into an argument over some lady calling the house. The stuff hit the fan, and it was about to go down. Mrs. Espino finally found out her husband was cheating, and it felt like World War III had begun. Miss Espito grabbed a knife and went after Mr. Espito, screaming. Why did you cheat on me? I've been a good wife. I ran up the stairs. I became nervous because of the screaming. And I hid under the bed for about 3 hours until they calmed down. Mrs. Speedo came into my room crying and sobbing. She called my name as if I was her comfort. So I came out from under the bed and she hugged me so tight where I almost couldn't breathe. She put my hands on her breast and said, "Rub me because it hurts." I did it with the fear that if I didn't, I was going to be beat. This was the same thing I had faced with my mother. The situation got worse when I was forced to perform oral sex on Miss Espedo. She told me that she loved me, and if I loved her, I would do it to make her feel good. Mr. Espedo came into the room and recorded what was going on. He was masturbating in the corner while recording. I couldn't sleep that night because the thoughts of him coming into my room to rape me wouldn't leave my mind. Every time I saw him, I saw my uncle's Travis face. The very next morning, I ran away and went to my caseworker's office and told my caseworker what was going on. They investigated the situation. During the investigation, I had to spend the time in the respite care facility. I had security around me like I was a superstar because the police were afraid that someone was going to come and hurt me because of what had taken place in the home. I had to go through counseling and 5 steps of process, and which consists of a child interview, a medical examination, an interview with the non-offending, and an interview with the alleged offender, and a risk assessment. I had to use dolls to show them what exactly happened when Miss Espedo touched me. That was so uncomfortable, and they had to record me. I had to go through this 4 or 5 times, and I had to draw pictures of stuff that happened. It was like I was the bad guy. I was suffering from a deep depression because I was trying to figure out why this was happening to me. This is why I didn't have well developed coping mechanisms. All the traumatic, emotional, physical, and sexual abuse was beginning to take a toll on me. Further along in the investigation, Mr. Espedo admitted to doing what he did and agreed to testify against his wife because he wanted a shorter jail sentence. So he served 3 years in jail for molestation and abuse, and Miss Espedo served 10 years for the same charge because the husband testified against her. By now, I had been in 10 foster homes, and none of them seemed to work out. So the state of New Jersey decided to send me to a residential placement that all the way in Allentown, Pennsylvania, called Kids Peace for the duration of 4 years. This place was the middle of nowhere. It was impossible for me to run away. This was a place where they had troubled kids to help stabilize them from all the trauma of abuse. This place was humongous. It was an adequate center with the Olympic pool size. It's known K through 12 school. Its own K through 12 school. Its own basketball team and orchards were growing where they grew fruit in the summer and did tubing in the winter. Oh my God, they had these folks out here in jail. I was placed in Thorpe unit with 25 other kids with the same issues and anger problems that I had. I seemed to adapt and respond better to those who were suffering from the same thing until my roommate began to explain the abuse he had encountered. It brought back so many memories, and it caused me to relapse and lash out at the people who cared and wanted to help me. I began to become angrier by the day. I began angrier by the day because I had time to sit and think about the wonder years. The enemy was taking me back down memory lane to keep me to keep the fire and anger alive. When we feed negative energy or when we never release what is in our heart into the atmosphere, the enemy uses as a torment to us. But we must be careful who we confide in because some who say they have a listening ear are a charismatic witches who are praying against you and using witchcraft to keep you in bondage. After a year at kids' place, I began to get better with my anger, but there was still unforgiveness in my heart. I was also now dealing with abandonment issues because I've been shipped out to a place where I knew no one. And for some strange reason, I was missing my mother. How is it I was missing the person who tried to kill my soul? The one who beat me almost to the death. The one who allowed my uncle to rape me over and over and over again. The one who threatened to kill me and hide my body. Maybe it was because that was my comfort zone. And being in a safe place was out of the ordinary. To me, chaos and being beaten and molested was the way people showed you they loved you, and that was normal life. Going into my second year at Kids Place, I began my one on one counseling sessions with my therapist, Khalif. Khalif was about 6'6", 320 pounds, and he had a deep voice like Barry White. He scared the mess out of me. I had a hard time trusting him because everyone I had ever trusted did something bad to me. So my trust level at the age of 8 was at zero. And dealing with him wouldn't be any different. Even though he was a male, which was something that I was craving to have in my life, I had never met my father. And I had always thought in the back of my head, if my father were here, maybe he would have protected me from my mother and my uncle did to me. But that was just a figment of my imagination. In our first 7 sessions, I wouldn't do anything but stare at him and cry. And when I considered his face, all I could do was think, he isn't here to help me. He was going to do something to me. So I shut down. Growing up in a fatherless home is something that I know now I'm proud to have experienced. It has made the line between being a boy and a man much clearer for me. What's the difference between a dad and a father, you might be asking? Well, a father is a proper term for a male who produces a child, but in the eyes of a kid, a father is a dad or daddy. It is the name that has to be earned by being supportive of your child, both financially and mentally. You don't become a dad without working hard for it or without being there whenever your kids need you. Depend don't depend on someone else or a trust fund for your well-being and livelihood, for your well-being and livelihood. At any moment, either could despair from your life. I was fortunate to realize at the early age that no one was going to hand me my dreams or what I needed in life. I needed to go out there and capture it myself. Since we live in the modern times, we're not required to a farm or hunt to survive on our own. Self-sufficiency is different. It's now more thriving as a man than just surviving. I can't understand why so many young men decide to do exactly what their fathers did with their lives. You may be thinking that it's easy for me to say this because I had to aspire to was becoming a drinker, drug user, and abusive deadbeat. But my father did work. He did construction and odd jobs. That's common. That's a common career that sons decide to pursue because their fathers did. Any work was worthy. Any work was worthy work. And if your dad does or did really it is your passion too. Wait a minute. And if you're what your dad does or did is really your passion too, then that's great. But for me, I wanted something different, something more exciting, and something that had never been done before. Here's a great quote that makes you rethink the following so closely in someone's footsteps. If you walk in the footsteps of a stranger, you'll learn things you never knew. Never be afraid to tread the path alone. All right, and that is chapter 2, y'all. Now, chapter 2 made me think about some stuff. And I don't know if maybe we just talking too fast or reading, or am I looking too deep or something? But chapter 2 was like, okay, wait. Now they took you out they wouldn't take you out the mama home because you had the meat hanging off your back, but they took you out the other folks' home. I guess. But we gonna keep on reading. We gonna keep on reading, honey. Would you say y'all both put in 50%? Please like this video. Hey y'all. I see y'all rolled on up in here. Curious, I was wondering if he became an addict, right? Yeah, he said kids pretend to be supernatural beings to make themselves seem like a man, like a hard man did. Yeah, it's a lot to go through, and between the ages 6 and 8, God, oh, honey, I was like, I leave, babe. Oh, baby. Well, y'all, what y'all got? Y'all got any thoughts on that? Yes, chapter 3 is gonna be next Thursday. Little Betty want more, honey. Be like, go on to chapter 3, big. Go on out. Y'all heard me put my little slick sound effects in there, honey. Child. They said not again. Oh yeah, y'all catch a hell in this chat. Hey, the hood table. I hope that was it. The hood table. She said that was the one of the worst ones. Okay, so we know. Yes, Carrie. Yes. Curio said I almost cried a few times. Hey, Jessica. Hey, Paulette. Hey, Vella. Leela. What's up with y'all? Well, honey, that was pretty deep, child. I'm gonna have to go now because these chapters we flying through. And hell, we on chapter 3, and it ain't taking long at all. So I'm gonna have to go on and put in for my second part of my book, honey. We gonna have to see, honey. But yes, I do like how he writes it though. Like he come in and out, in and out. So it just won't be like, drowning you out and shit, making you tired. So I'm all for that. On chapter 3, it's look like it may be a little bit shorter than chapter 2 was. So we gonna see, honey. We gonna see, y'all. I already done put our bookmark there. So I'ma holler at you guys later. She said sometimes we go through things and others help even if they don't know it. You right about that, Betty. Hey, Grady, baby. Yes, that's what I say about the age of 8, honey. Mm-hmm. Yes, child. But I appreciate you guys. And don't y'all forget, y'all know we'll be back over here tomorrow night for the raffle, baby. Y'all already know how we get down over here on a Friday night. Hey, Nat. Y'all know how we get down over here on a Friday night, so don't y'all forget to enter the raffle. And WGQs, I know I said I was gonna make a video, but I'm off this weekend. Y'all know how it go on Thursday, on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So we gonna have us have us a private meeting this weekend as well too. You know how we do. And I got y'all entries that has been entering since the 5th of March. So I got y'all down. And I hope y'all have a good night. Yes, Carrie Way. We if y'all have any ideas for some books, Carrie Ray gave me a good idea. On how we can do the next book. But if y'all got some ideas on the book, y'all let me know. Because she was letting me know, she was like, how about you just give us a heads up, so we can get the books and be ready to roll with you. So I was like, okay, that's a great idea. So we got to figure out what we're gonna read next. I'm really heavily thinking about going to the second part of this book, though, to be honest with y'all. Cause wait, honey. We gonna see how this ends. We might go on to the second part of the book. If we do, I'm gonna let y'all know. Y'all already know how it goes. So y'all have a good night. Enjoy y'all weekend, babe. My weekend getting started, babe. 4 motherfucking days, babe. Y'all already know how it go down. So like this video on y'all way out. I'ma holler at you guys later. Y'all have a good night. Stay safe.